morning, class. My name is Medallo, your teacher for today. So let's start our morning with a prayer. Jenny, kindly lead the prayer. Okay, thank you. So before you sit down, kindly arrange your chairs and pick up the pieces of papers near your seats. So, okay, good. Do we have absentees today? Very good. No one's absent. So, class, do you experience feeling lonely and restless? Yes. So, how did you deal with this feelings? Yes, Brea? That's right, by thinking positive. So, by thinking positive or being optimistic will strengthen our mind. So, let me show you a poem. It is entitled Sunshine. So, written by Maribel Azote Cabalan Buco. So, it will inspire you, class, to look at the brighter side during difficult times. So, everyone, please read it with feelings. Okay, thank you. Have you noticed the letters in bold print? Yes, sunshine. Good job. But do you know what do these letters stands for? Yes, that's right. S for simultaneously, U for unfortunately, N for nonetheless, S for similarly, H for however, I for in other words, N for nevertheless, and E for eventually. So, good job. But do you know what do we call these words? No. So class, it is called transition signal. So our topic for today is transition signal. So before that, before we proceed, let me read the objective. So at the end of the lesson, learners are expected to identify appropriate signal showing coherence, construct an essay using transition signals to achieve coherence, and appreciate the importance of using transitional signals. So before we proceed, can anyone recall our lesson last meeting? Yes, Rin. Yes, it's modal verb. So what is modal verb, Trish? Yeah, that's right. So modal verb no is also called an auxiliary verb. So it is used along with main verb to express possibility, ability, permission, or necessity. So for example, in the statement, you must leave. So must is the modal verb and leave is the verb. So which is, it is performed by the subject, which is you. So let's move to our topic, which is transition signals. So based on our activity, what do you think are transition signals? Yes, Trish? Okay, that's right. So transition signals along with repeated words and reference words are one of the main ways to achieve good cohesion and coherence in your writing. So they are ways to help ensure that your ideas and sentences cohere or stick together. So the signpost or it indicate to the reader the relationship between sentence and paragraph, making it easier for the reader to understand your idea. For example, the transition signal is used the transition signal, for example, is used to give examples, while the word while is used to show a contrast. In addition, there are phrases like in addition for adding new ideas. Likewise, there are words such as likewise to connect similar ideas. So, broadly speaking, transition signals can be divided into three types: the sentence connectors, the clause connectors, and the other connectors. So, when we say sentence connectors are used to connect two sentences together from the word sentence. So, they are joined by a full stop or period or semicolon and are followed by a comma. So, the following are examples of sentence connectors, Transition signals are very useful. However, they should not be used to begin every sentence. So the sentence connector here is however. And then contrast signals are one type of transition signals. In addition, there are others such as compare signals and addition signals. So the sentence connectors used in here in the sentence is in addition. And there are three main ways to improve cohesion in your writing. First, you can use transition signals. So what do you think is the sentence connector series? Yes, that's right. The first here in use in the sentence. And meanwhile, clause connectors are used to connect two clauses together to form one sentence. So they are joined by a comma. So the following examples are transition signals are very useful, but they should not be used to begin every sentence. So which is the clause connectors here? What do you think, class? Yes, Bree? Okay, that's right. The but is the clause connectors. Although transition signals are very useful, they should not be used to begin every sentence. So the clause connectors here is although, and then the last example, construct signals are one type of transition signals, and there are others such as compare signals and addition signals. So the clause connectors here is such as. Next is the other connector. So other connectors follow different grammar patterns. So many are followed by noun phrase, some are verbs and should therefore be used as verbs in a sentence. So for example, despite their importance in achieving cohesion, transition signals should not be used to begin every sentence. So the other connectors used here is despite. And then the next example is good cohesion is the result of using repeated words, reference words, and transition signals. So the other connectors here is the result. And then lastly, it is clear that careful use of transition signals will improve the cohesion in your writing. Contrast signals are on one type of transition signals. Another type is comparison signals. So the other connectors used here is that another. So yeah, that's right. And next, wait. So I have here an example, types of transition signals. Wait, class. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So, is my materials visible? Okay, so we have an example of transition signals here. So, there are four types actually. There are four types of transition signals. So, first is the additive. So, example is, so when you say additive, what is additive? From the word add. So, it means to add, right? So, here, additive. Okay, so additive is to add a similar idea, to introduce an additional idea, and to introduce an example or illustration. So, example of transition signals of additive are comparatively, coupled with, correspondingly, identically, likewise, similar to, together with, equally, and also. So for example, we should all be careful with the coronavirus disease that makes our respiratory system weak. Likewise, the HIV or AIDS that makes our immune system frail. So the bold letter here, likewise, is an example of additive transition. So next is when you are going to introduce an additional idea, we're going to use furthermore, also, additionally, in addition, moreover, similar, likewise, as well as, besides, another, and lastly is to. So for example, the government reminds the people on the existing policies on community quarantine. Also, it advises them to always observe appropriate health protocol. So the bold letter here is the transition signals, I mean. And lastly is to introduce an example or illustration. So we can use transitional signals like, for example, such as, for instance, to demonstrate, namely, in particular, and specifically. So here are some examples. There are various health protocols that the government mandates. Social or physical distancing, for example, must be strictly observed, especially in public places. So this, for example, the bold letters here is an example of additive transitions. And to continue, here, so it is also, additive transitions is also used to introduce a statement or explanation. So example, that is, in fact, indeed, namely, specifically, thus. So example of this is, we did not enjoy our vacation in Hong Kong. In fact, heavy rains poured the city for almost 3 days. So the bold letter, which is in fact, is an example of transition signals. And also, we have here, last is additive transitions is also used to draw to a close or summarize. So, for example, to conclude, as a final point, in brief, in conclusion, indeed, in short, in summary, finally, and lastly. And then the example is, many companies were forced to shut down. The unemployment rate increases for the past 4 months. A number of OFWs have been repatriated. In conclusion, the country is experiencing great economic losses due to COVID-19 pandemic. So, in conclusion, is the use transition signals here. And then for the next example, the type of transition signals is the adversative. So when we say adversative, it is used to introduce an opposite idea or contrast. So we can use transitional signals like in contrast, conversely, alternatively, yet, although, even though, nevertheless, notwithstanding, however, on the other hand, whereas, while, instead, and otherwise. So for example, even though the country is experiencing great economic loss due to this pandemic, it has continued helping other countries by sending our medical frontliners and other essential materials. So the transition signal used here is even though. And to continue again, wait, let me change first. Okay. So we're here, another example of adversative. It is used to emphasize or clarify a point. So example is, even more, above all, indeed, more importantly, besides. So the example is, despite our limited resources due to this pandemic, Glenda still managed to distribute relief goods to some of our neighbors. Indeed, she is helpful and wonderful person. So the transition signals used here to clarify a point is, to emphasize is indeed. And the next one is, the next type is the causal. So when the word causal is, which means cause. So it tells to indicate a consequence or result. So for example, consequently, accordingly, as a result, hence, subsequently, therefore, thus, thereupon, as a consequence, for this reason, wherefore. So example is, the students reviewed their lessons well before their exams. As a result, they passed the school's assessment process. So as you can see, it indicates a result, right? As a result. And then the last type of transition signals is the sequential transition. So it is used to sequence your ideas. So from the word sequence, So we can use firstly, or first, second, or secondly, third, or thirdly, next, then, after this, lastly, finally, accordingly, meanwhile, and henceforth. So, for example, my mother cooked our favorite breakfast. After eating, she washed the dishes and other utensils. Then, she swept the floor and cleaned the whole house. So, as you can see, where is the transition signals used there? So, it is the after, the, and then the then. So, that's all for transition the transition signals. So, do you have any questions or clarifications? Okay, there's none. So now let's proceed, okay, to before we forgot, before we proceed to an activity, can anyone summarize the discussion or the lesson that we've discussed today? Okay, yes, Brenda. Yes, that's right. And how about you, Brent? Okay, that's right. So very good. So I can see that you really listened to my discussion. So thank you. It's very important to for us to know, this transition signals, because this will help us in producing well-arranged and well-written sentences. So now there are no questions anymore. Let's proceed to our group activity. So divide our class into 3 groups by counting 1, 2, 3. So first, Glenda, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now you're done counting. So please proceed to your respective groups. So we have here, so think of any social issues that our society confronts today and make a persuasive essay about it using transitional signals. Okay, is my instruction clear? Are there any questions? So if there's none, you can proceed now. Before I forgot, class, we have a twist here. So I'm not the one who's going to check your works. Instead, your group mates, the other groups will check your essays. So group 1 will check the essays of group 2, and group 2 will check the essays of group 3, and group 3 will check the essays of group 1. Am I understood? Okay, that's right. So now you have 15 minutes to do your work. Okay, time's up. So now exchange your essays or exchange your works with other groups and let them check it. Okay, how did you feel about this activity? Oh, right. So it's amazing, right? So next, so after you've done your activity, so I can see that all of you got a high score, no? So now let's proceed to your assessment. So for your assessment class, examine the sentences below. Identify the appropriate transition signal for each statement. Write the letters of your chosen answer. So you have 15 minutes to answer your assessment. Okay, time's up. So, for number 1, my mom refused the salesman's offer. Blank, she changed her mind and went back to him the following day. Who wants to answer? Yes, Bren? Okay, the answer is, however, that's correct. And then the number 2, the citizens refused to follow the community quarantine protocols. Blank, the COVID-19 cases in their city increase. So who wants to resolve? Okay, so the answer is as a result. So number 3, the medical frontliners were given to complete sets of personal protective equipment. Blank, those who are acquired the disease were given additional financial incentives. So Jenny, yes, you want to answer? So what's your answer? Yes, in addition, that's correct. And for number 4, Anthony is authoring a book blank. He also acts as its editor and publisher. Who wants to answer? Yes, James? Oh yeah, the answer is thus. And then for the last question, the man was caught driving under the influence of alcohol. Blank, he was released after paying fine. So, who wants to answer? Oh yes, o magtuto. Okay, however, so who among you here got the perfect scores? Oh, very good class. Most of you got perfect scores. So I'm really happy to know it because it means you're really listening to my discussion. And for your assignment, because you're done with your assessment, make your own short story using various transitional words. Write it on a long bond paper. Okay, you're going to make your own short story class, but with the use of transitional signals. So is it understood? You can take a picture of this one so you can forget your assignment. Okay, and lastly, oh, so there's nothing anymore. So I hope class you've learned a lot from this lesson, and I know you can apply it in your real life. So thank you for listening. So that's all for today. Class dismissed.